You're listening to the Parts Pros podcast, the only podcast made specifically for automotive parts professionals. We're here to dive into the latest industry trends, expert strategies, and real-world solutions to drive success and boost your parts department bottom line. I'm your host, Amanda Poe, an automotive marketing expert with more than a decade of experience helping dealerships drive growth in the ever-evolving digital marketing landscape. And I am joined today by Emily. Emily is from our official podcast sponsor, RevolutionParts. She is an e-commerce guru with 5 years of experience working hands-on with both dealerships and aftermarket parts industry leaders. Hi, Emily, and welcome.
Thank you, Amanda. Excited to be here today. And we're on season 3 of the podcast, and I think we're welcoming our coolest guest yet. So I can't wait to talk to him.
No pressure, but our other guest, David Spisak. Now, I've got kind of a long intro for David, but he's got a few years of experience and has done a couple things in his career, so bear with me on this one. David is from Disruptive Growth Solutions and the David Spisak Show, another podcast, which we will provide you guys a link to so y'all can check out his much more than 3 seasons of podcast he's got going on over there at the David Spisak Show. He's got more than 45 years of experience in the automotive industry, working his way up in the dealership to GM, then dealer operator, before becoming an executive at AutoNation, and then launching into the world of technology and eventually starting Disruptive Growth Solutions. After running the largest fixed ops department in the country and receiving awards for having the lowest turnover rate in the industry, he's now owner and CEO of Disruptive Growth Solutions, the only consulting and advisory firm that works with both dealers and tech providers. His purpose is to not only help tech providers create better solutions for dealers, but also to help dealers to create sustainably profitable organizations regardless of external factors. That's a quote directly from him. David, welcome.
Wow, that was a lot. I would love to meet that guy.
Longest intro in 3 seasons, for sure.
I kind of felt like I was getting some kind of a mini preview of like my wake or something, my funeral. Let me just say a few words about David. Thank you. That was awfully kind of you. I appreciate it. Long story boring. I'm a car guy, and I've been a car guy for decades. So I think this is my 5th decade in this business, and I'm just as passionate as I ever have been about helping dealers.
That's fantastic. Can you share, before we get into the questions, because we do have a few very specific questions for you today, can you share any more about Disruptive Growth Solutions, the David Spisak Show, you yourself, anything you want to share with our audience that maybe I haven't already shared?
So people ask you to share stuff about yourself. It's like, you sound very dating game-ish, doesn't it? So I'm a Scorpio. No, I'm kidding.
He likes long walks on the beach, Nicholas
yes.
Sparks movies.
Oh, who doesn't? Who doesn't love a scary movie? So no, listen, I love the car business. I served in the U.S. Navy, and got out, and I happened to fall into a job in the car business. I wasn't prepared for that. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't planning it. And most of the people in our industry you find are exactly that. They just kind of fell into it, and then you fall in love with it. And you kind of like Al Pacino in Godfather 3, every time you try to get out, they pull you back in. Disruptive Growth Solutions has been around now for 5 years, a little over 5 years now. And we are hyper-focused on doing everything possible to allow dealers to not just run their business and then hopefully at the end of the month say, hey, how did we do? But to rather engineer their results, engineer their net profit. I've been studying data and operational data for over 40 years, and the reality is we're at a point today where we shouldn't just be thinking about what happened yesterday or here's a report on what happened today. We can be highly predictive about how this month's going to end, how this year's going to end, and what next year looks like. So that in combination with developing through a lot of testing, we call it DGS Labs, proven strategies so that dealers, regardless of whether you're in a metro, a rural, high volume, low volume, luxury, import, domestic, these are strategies that have been proven. If you put them into place, they work on the first day, they work every day, they work everywhere. And they will serve dealers to help them promote better results, better associate satisfaction, higher profitability, the things that dealers are looking to accomplish every day. So it's a thrill and it's an honor to serve in this industry, and the David Spisak Show is a huge part of that because, I don't, unlike other people, and I don't certainly begrudge anybody, business is business, but everybody that you hear on my show, nobody paid. I have no pay for play. So whether it's a person in a dealership, a thought leader, an innovator, a vendor creator, they want to talk about something, if it's of value to dealers or the associates in the dealership, yeah, let's have a conversation. If somebody just wants to come on to pitch a product, no, I don't have time for that. So I've enjoyed having over 250 guests, from Senator Moreno to Jeffrey Pohanka, Mike Maroney, Jay Vijayan, and some of the best, thought leaders, dealers out there. And it's just been a real thrill to have those conversations.
And I think that right there is why we are so excited to have you here, because we feel the exact same way about the Parts Pros podcast. Every guest we have, the very first conversation I have with them before we get on air is, this is not a sales pitch. Many of them work with Revolution Parts.
Let me put away my brochures then. This is
put
awkward.
away your brochure. Many of the people that we interview work with Revolution Parts, and they automatically come into this saying, okay, well, what am I supposed to say? And I tell them, you're not supposed to say anything. This is not a sales pitch. This is a conversation. I really want the Parts Pros podcast to be a place where parts professionals can come for the best advice available. And so we're very excited to have you here, because you obviously, through the few things that we've done with you already, we know you have a lot of very good advice, especially in the fixed op space.
Thank you. And I have to say this too. If you consider, for all the time I've been in this industry, and certainly thankfully through the grace of God, been able to accomplish some really cool things, I rarely, if ever, agree to go on people's podcasts. I'm not looking for certainly social media validation. I'm too old to be out there, looking for, oh my God, I need 2 more friends. You can never have enough wonderful quality people in your life. There is no limit on that. But it's just a matter of time. And there's a simple reason why I've done things, for example, for Ted Ing's Fixed Ops Roundtable. And the reason I'm doing this is the same. I don't believe our fixed op departments have gotten anywhere remotely close to the amount of love, attention, and focus that they should, because they're the backbone of the store. They tend to be the epicenter of culture. Anybody that talks about culture, start in your fixed op department. If it doesn't live there, you don't have it. And that's the first place you have to start. It also, you could sell all the cars we want, but this is the group of people that makes those people come back. And so, the fixed ops part is part of it. The second thing is, I love working with people that are making a difference on the front line. And I just happen to have dealers and groups I work with around the country. And guess what? A lot of them work with Revolution Parts. And I was just with a small dealer in a small town in Texas. And, this is a store that I've told them for months, you should be doing at least 3 times or more what you're doing in wholesale parts. Guess what? They're doing it this month. Guess what? They signed up with Revolution Parts. I said, what did you do? What did you do? What changed? And the guy, nice young parts guy, said, I signed up with Revolution Parts. I'm like, okay, brilliant. So I've heard so many positive things. When I combine that about wanting to help amplify fixed, and you see a company that's making a difference for fixed, especially parts, because parts it gets even less attention than the service department. So, I think this is a rare opportunity for me to be able to just give back, and out of respect for everybody in fixed, everybody in parts, and frankly, to bring frankly some thanks or attention to what Revolution Parts is doing to actually have a positive impact, not just be a vendor, be a great partner that makes a difference. So that's why I'm here.
I love that. And for those who are tuning in, if you haven't seen it yet, our episode with Ibrahim, our CEO and co-founder, he talks about just that, our goal to make a difference in the industry and to really help people. And our friend Ted, he's amazing, and he said it many times, and I have absolutely no idea where the original quote comes from, but Ted said, many months ago, 2025 is the year of the parts department. And as we're headed into 2026, I think even more so, as the cost of cars are rising, as interest rates are rising, as people can no longer afford to replace their car every 2 years like they used to, cars are getting older and the parts department is becoming even more essential. And I'm very excited to see how parts departments are going to grow and finally get their due in 2026.
Well, let me share one more thing before I know you've got a couple questions possibly, but just to give everybody an example, I was sharing this with another dealer. So I said, listen, your folks get paid on commission. right? And I was sharing with the parts manager, you need to go out there and become part of the sales department. I know this sounds preposterous, right? Because they're typically the farthest end from each other. I said, but let me explain. I said, you got guys out there, busting their behinds to sell cars, to make people happy. And oftentimes we're doing it for a gross profit of under $1,000. So, when you think about it, you can be selling a $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 car or more. And I was looking at a dealership. This was a Honda store. Their average gross profit on the car itself was about $300. And I said, do you understand? I said, do you ever consider the fact that if you spent the time and educated the sales team, there's more gross profit in the $1,000 accessories you're trying to get them excited about exposing to their clients than there is in your $45,000 car. $1,000, 45 grand. And by the way, not a bad way to increase your income by 50 or 100% as a salesperson. So the customer wins, because most customers want to customize or personalize their cars. They do it in the first 30, 90 days. The sad thing is they leave the dealership to do it, right? And they're not getting as good of a parts or as good a service. But you can help that customer personalize, take that exciting moment, make it even better. And at the same time, you're going to increase your income as well. So I think there's so many ways the parts department directly and indirectly can help boost profitability, differentiation, and customer satisfaction.
Well, it's interesting that you say that the average profit on one of these vehicles is $300, because we talk to parts managers every single day who are making more than $300 in profit per order, especially if they're in wholesale. So if they're doing wholesale, if they're working with local body shops, if they are really trying to diversify and expand and make money for their parts department, $300 is, they're making that in an hour. And to hear the sales team is sometimes taking days or weeks to make that, that's pretty wild. And
Well, and they do it
we could
3,000
talk a whole lot
times a
about
month.
that. Don't get me started on wholesale, because I think a lot of us are just missing the boat. We're cutting wholesale short. We really
definitely are.
We focus too much on the margin. Everybody says, hey, I'm making 30, 40, 45% here. I'm only making 12, 15, 16 here. You're missing the point, right? The point isn't in the margin. The point is in the money. Don't focus on the margin, focus on the money. But we'll save that for another episode, perhaps.
We could talk all day about margins and about sales, but let's get into what we're really here to talk about. And
What is that?
I want to talk about Disruptive Growth Solutions and one of the things that you really focus on a lot as a company. So you turn operational challenges into profit. And I think in layman's terms, you turn problems into money. And I would love if you could share an example with our audience of maybe somewhere where most dealers would throw money at a problem, but you could solve it with a smarter strategy or a process instead.
Sure, I'll give you a couple quickly. One, let's talk used cars. So used cars is interesting. Every department has its own, kind of zone of genius, if you will, right? The great thing it does for that store. And when they all work together, magic happens. In used cars, the magic of used cars is when you sell used cars, you're making not only you're selling a car, you've got an F&I opportunity, but you have got a reconditioning opportunity, which the last time I saw also has a parts opportunity as part of that. Now, here's the thing is that, first of all, dealers, when they're struggling to get used cars, they go out and they acquire cars at an auction. Think about this. Cars at the auction typically cost more. In our data, it shows an average of $1,800 to $2,000 more for domestic or import. Think about how that shifts you in terms of the competition out there that you're trying to vie against in order to sell that vehicle. But also, it's going to take you longer to get the car there. It's going to take you longer to get it through recon. You're probably going to want to spend less in reconditioning because you already overpaid on the car. Now you're shorting the service department and the parts department, which, by the way, has much higher margins, 3-4 times maybe the margins of selling a car in the new car or used car department. So you go out there and you go, okay, well, you want to throw money at the problem, go buy cars at the auction. But if you want to solve the problem, what I do is teach them how to become acquisition masters. And by becoming acquisition masters, what you're doing is you're getting a lot more local cars. By doing that, you're retaining customers. By doing that, you're driving more business into the service and parts department. By doing that, you're spending more money on recon, which is delivering a better car to the person who ends up buying it. So that's an example. BDCs, listen, I love BDCs from the standpoint that they can solve a problem. But let's be honest, in the sales department, the reason we have BDCs is somebody couldn't get our salespeople to phone somebody back. I don't know. Why don't we fix that? Right? The only reason you have a BDC is you couldn't get somebody to fix that issue. The only reason you have a delivery department is you couldn't get your salesperson to do a great job delivering the car. And the only reason you're spending more money on advertising is because we don't have the right cars. You see, if you have cars that I consider to be flip phones, these are cars people don't want to buy, but you have to sell. It takes more money, more effort, more focus, more compensation. When you have iPhones on the lot, these are cars that people want to buy. They're searching for, and it honestly doesn't matter where you're located. They're going to find you. You're going to spend less on advertising, less on carrying costs, less on compensation while your salesperson and management team is going to make more money. So there's a lot of different things that we do, from that to employee turnover. I mean, think about this. Every time you lose an employee, you lose a parts person. And I'll ask them, if you lose an average parts person, how long will it take you to replace them? I don't know, a month and a half. What about your one of your best? Oh man, might be months, maybe a year, maybe never, right? So what if I teach you how to do a better job of identifying the right person to bring on to begin with, and then identifying the best way to develop that person in a way that resonates, where it takes them from feeling like they have a job to feeling like they have a home and a career. And when you do all these things in combination, it makes a dramatic impact. I had just one store, a Nissan store, where Nissan went backwards year over year in profitability. They went up 39%. Or a Stellantis store, where they went back 70%, and this store went from losing money to making almost $2 million. Or a successful Honda store that went from making $3 million to $9 million in 7 months. 7 months. They went from making $3.5 million. That was their pace for the year. When I walked in, by the end of the year, it was $9 million. Guess what? They're going to make more money this year. Doesn't matter what's happening externally. We can figure out ways to help you hack the system in a moral, legal, ethical way, but how you can over-index what the market is really out there identifying to allow you to make more than you think you can make.
By investing in the right people and the right tools and the right
Starts
training.
with people every time.
All right, so let's talk about that for a second, because you led a dealership to record-breaking net profit and less than 3% employee turnover rate. So I'm imagining there's probably a lesson learned or two going from $1 million a year to $30 million a year.
Yes, there's many. First of all, again, it's not about you. You know, if you're the leader of that business, it's not about you. And it's not about those people serving you. It's about you serving them. There's no point of being a leader unless you're using those abilities, your acumen, your experience, to break down barriers, to reduce obstacles or eliminate obstacles, make it easier. Hey, number one rule for any business is to make it as fast, simple, and easy, appealing for a consumer to give you money, right? But rule number 1A, if you will, is to make it as fast, simple, and easy for associates to do that for you. So oftentimes we focus on removing friction from the consumer, never thinking, hey, we are not removing friction from the people that we want working with those consumers. Those things are not mutually exclusive. So there's many parts of that, but it all starts with number one, you've got to have the right people. You got to have the right culture. And by the way, I think there's a lot of stores that there's managers that are actually afraid of employees. And I don't mean afraid physically. I mean afraid to say anything or hold them accountable because, oh my God, they're going to leave and I can't find anybody. Listen, people don't value positions that's easy to get. They don't. They value being part of something that's hard to be a part of. So first of all, you have to have a culture of accountability. If you don't have accountability, you don't have expectations. You don't have expectations, you're not considering the fact that people do a better job when they know what's expected of them. So it starts with people, great leadership, and I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about the managers that it's my job to support. You have to have that accountability side. You have to be process-driven and data-centric. The age of doing business based on your gut is dead. And I would challenge anybody to name any top valued company in the world today, in any country, that is not process driven and data centric. Period. If you take a process driven data centric company, say like Amazon, for example, or like Apple or anybody else, and you then combine that with people that are passionate and really care about taking care of a consumer, that's how you create $1 billion, $1 trillion type of company. There's a lot of other companies out there that do interesting things, but they miss that piece. It's like in the book Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara, #1 rated restaurant in the world at the time, is the people care like they're the owners. They take care of people like it's their own place. So people are not going to take care of our customers any better than we take care of them. That's just always been the fact. And so that was the big lesson. Pour into them, develop them, invest hundreds of thousands of dollars. Not 5,000, not 10, hundreds of thousands of dollars. But if you do that after bringing the right person on, great onboarding process, and you develop them so they feel like they have a career. Because face it, everybody that works for us is no different than us. Nobody wants to be where they are right now 5 years from now. Nobody. And
Absolutely.
if they can't feel good about where they are, they're going to go somewhere where they do.
Something I heard years and years ago that always stuck with me through every team I've led is you want to create an ownership mindset in everyone that works for you. Whether they own part of the company or not, they need to feel like it. They own customer satisfaction. They own processing times. They own technology. They create an ownership mindset in every single employee. And then when they are responsible for something and they are passionate about that thing, there will always be more success in that area of the company.
I completely agree with you. And it's funny you say that because I'll do culture classes for companies. And one of the first things I share with them is you have to split culture in a number of pieces, right? Everybody says, oh, you need a good culture. Well, you need a good sales culture. You need a good customer culture. You need a good work culture. And one of the things you absolutely have to have, to your point, Amanda, is you have to have a good profit culture, meaning regardless of whether you're a valet or you're answering the phones or you're the GSM or you're the parts director, everybody has to have that profit culture mindset to where they are willing to do the things and paying attention to things that are going to help that dealership be profitable, because then everybody wins. Customers, associates, and the organization.
Well put. So we've talked a lot about people. I want to shift a little bit to start talking more about tools. It feels like AI was the word of the year this year. Where do you see AI providing genuinely disruptive advantage in the dealership today? And where do you think it's still just kind of an expensive distraction?
Man, not enough of the former, a whole lot of the latter, as we sit right now. But don't worry. First of all, anybody that's sitting there saying, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to wait to see if this thing's for real, if it's going to stick. Listen, when email came out, I don't know if you know, this is probably way before your time, but email came out in the early mid-90s, and it took 6, 7, 8 years to actually have it really be adopted and utilized in a widespread manner. E-commerce was the same way, almost 10 years. Social media, same way. And, at those times, you could do that and sit back. Podcasts, what the heck is podcasting? I don't know if this is going to stick. I don't know. I think it kind of stuck pretty well if you look now with how many podcasts are out there and how people are consuming information. Let me share this with everybody. AI is not optional. It's not. And every day that you're not figuring it out, learning about it, researching it, or embedding it somewhere in your organization, trust me, for every day you're not doing that, you're probably 100 days behind. And frankly, anybody that hasn't taken that step now is already, I hate to say it, behind. It's not like you can't catch up. But you got to not kid yourself. This is absolutely for real. Second thing, We heard initially AI is not going to replace, everybody simmer down. It's not going to replace people. Oops. Yes, it is. So if anybody's watched the news at all, whether it's CNBC or the, regular mainstream news, you've got Microsoft, you got Google, you got Salesforce, you got Mark Benioff from Salesforce. This is unbelievable. I know I said it wasn't going to replace people, but we've been able to reduce our staff in half, right? So here's the thing. You got people, in fact, I did a post on LinkedIn today. I would invite you or anybody to take a look at it. Well, I don't know today by the time anybody hears this, but I did a post on LinkedIn, that says, hey, when somebody talks about layoffs if you're a business owner, you go, man, I get it. Life's getting harder. It's expensive. Hard to find good people. I'm not getting the productivity. Benefits are outrageously expensive and going up every year. If you're an employee, you're going, oh, that's just cruel. Well, the reality is both are right? Because from an employee's perspective, I get it. It's tough. From a business person's perspective, listen, you have no choice. Listen, any dinosaur that's extinct, somebody please point out whatever species was the smartest dinosaur of them all. They're still extinct. Okay? And you can't afford as a business to take that mindset that you're going to just say, okay, I'm going to see how this works out. Right now, there are platforms out there that are making a big impact. What are those, Emily? They are typically workflow oriented. Okay, they are allowing me to reduce costs. They're allowing my people, and interestingly, they're not necessarily in our business replacing people. What they're doing is making our people hyper efficient, hyper productive. So it allows me to take less staff perhaps and get more, be able to get more from them, right? But that creates also greater levels of job satisfaction, greater levels of long-term career stability for these folks. It also allows them to learn new skills that are not only applicable now, but will be the foundation for everything they're going to do every year from now. So those ones that are workflow focused are having, I think, a rather dramatic impact already, and it's just going to get better. And you take other platforms out there, which is simply, embedding some form of AI, whether it comes from OpenAI or something else, where it's just regurgitating answers or allowing people to ask questions. I need everybody to always pretend with AI that there's an actual human on the other side. And so think about this. If you have somebody in any position in your store that has the chance to speak to the smartest person in the world, but they have no idea what to ask them. No idea what to ask them. Okay? Or they pose questions that frankly are preposterous just because they're curious. How does that benefit your organization? It doesn't. So it has to be something that actually allows that person to elevate in some way, elevate productivity or elevate their acumen, elevate them in some way. And when you have that, I think a phenomenal ROI is in front of us. If you don't have that, or if the data they're using is not the right data, there's just a lot of questions that have to be asked, and we work with clients all the time to help them vet out AI solutions. There's some really interesting ones out there. There's some that we're going to see at NADA, or AKA AI ad nauseum, and there's going to be some ones that is going to continue to have me shaking my head.
That's a fantastic answer. And that's been a lot of really great information. Unfortunately, we are out of time, so we're going to have you back some other time so we can take a crack at the wholesale nut, because there is so much we could talk about there as well. But David, I want to thank you so much for joining us.
It's huge. Anybody that's not doing wholesale, I mean, you look at Galpin, you look at Young Auto Group in Utah, you look at Fred Beans, there's organizations out there, and I'll leave you with this. Anytime you say, oh my God, that's unimaginable, it's only unimaginable to you based on how you're doing things right now. But when you open your eyes and your brain and you say, oh my God, there's a different view of the world, a different approach, all of a sudden the unimaginable becomes doable, and that's pretty darn cool.
That is very cool.
Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, that's it for this episode of the Parts Pros. Thank you for tuning in. For more information on the Parts Pros podcast, visit partsprospodcast.com. Be sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube, or again on our website, partsprospodcast.com, so you don't miss our next episode. And we'll drop a link on this video as well to the David Spisak Show, so you guys can check that out as well.
Thanks,
guys.
Thank you.